Hey buddy, today's video we're going to be changing the oil on my 2018 GMC Yukon with 5.3. Let's get after it. Alright, now we are under the vehicle. We're in the center facing the front of the vehicle. Quick note, when you're doing rear-wheel drive vehicles and you've never done this before, there's typically two flat surfaces. This one, which is actually the transmission, and it's hard to see because of this dust cover under here, skid plate, whatever you want to call it. There is another flat surface here that is the bottom of the engine. So when you're doing an oil change on the engine, you want to make sure that you locate the proper pan, because some vehicles do have a drain pan on the transmission as well. Most don't. So if you are having trouble finding the drain plug on the pan, look at the other one, see if it has one. So this one, the two important things that we're going to look for is the drain plug on the oil pan and the engine oil filter. We're going to be removing this bolt, which will allow the oil to go into the drain pan. When you're placing your oil pan under the drain plug, you don't want it way over here. You want it kind of this direction, because gravitational force is going to put pressure on this fluid. When you pull this plug out, it's going to arc in this direction, and as the pressure subsides, that arc is going to slowly come down to where it'll just be drizzling down here. So place your oil pan appropriately. I'm going to be using a 15 millimeter wrench to remove this plug, and once I do, you should notice the arc in that oil when it comes out. Basically just break it loose with the wrench, and then you can use your fingers to remove it. What I like to do is put pressure against the bolt as I unscrew it. And once you feel that the threads make kind of a click feeling, indicating that all the threads are out, then you can quickly move the bolt in your hand to prevent most oil from getting on you too much. You'll notice as it drains, the arc is going to come this direction. This oil is cold. The engine has not been started today. Keep in mind, if you just got done driving it to the parts store and back, that oil could be quite hot and it doesn't feel too good on your hands. And as you can see, it's kind of hard to prevent it from getting on your hands entirely. Even if you're wearing gloves, the heat, you'll still feel it. We're going to give this some time to drain. Since it is cold, I'm going to give it a few extra minutes to drain completely. Once it is drained, I'll replace the plug and we'll start removing the oil filter. See, now that that arc has come back the other way, I'm going to move the pan a little bit just to prevent any messes. Nothing is worse than pulling the plug and it overshooting your drain pan, and then you have to lay in it to finish your oil change. Alright, now we've given it a few minutes to drain. You can see it's down to just a slow drip. Now I'm going to take a rag, kind of clean up the drain bolt a little bit. Also, something of note, this truck is just high enough for me to slide under and do all of this without any jacks or jack stands. Your vehicle may be different. If you're driving a passenger car of some sort, a Accord, Civic, something of that nature, you may not have enough room to get under it. So you will have to use jacks and jack stands or ramps of some sort. Most manufacturers do make the vehicles where the drain plug is at the back of the drain pan, so that if you do put it up on ramps, the oil is more likely to drain completely. If the drain plug was at the front of the engine, when you lift the front end up on ramps, that wouldn't drain completely. You'd still have a ramp-made reservoir in the back, basically. So for that reason, most vehicles have the drain pan in the back. You can see this one, the pan actually sits up here, so this has sort of a sump. So all the oil drains back into this sump to be drained out, which is pretty good on GM's part. Alright, so I've cleaned up the drain plug. I'm going to go ahead and put it back in. Got it finger tight. I'm going to use my wrench to snug it up and use my calibrated wrist to make sure it's torqued properly. I'm certain that there is a designated torque rating for the bolt, but I just kind of put it on there and snug it up. I've just done it so many times that I know how much is too much. So now for the oil filter, and I've dipped my rag in my oil pan now, which is nice. As you can see, I could get that by hand. If you can't get it by hand, there's about 1 million different oil filter wrenches on the market. I typically use a large pair of channel locks. These are the ones I usually use. It'll open up big enough to grab most oil filters if it needs it. If the filter is good and clean, not covered in oil, it's pretty easy to just grab it and manhandle it. If not, though, channel locks or a proper oil filter wrench works pretty good. As you can see, we drained the engine out of the oil, but you still get oil coming out when you remove the filter. This is the case in most vehicles. Now I'll give it some time to drain, just like I did the oil drain plug. So now in preparation, while that's finishing drying, I'm going to go ahead and open my Wix oil filter. I'm using the Wix XP, which is their extended performance line. It's supposed to be good for 20,000 miles. That's part number WL10255XP. Now, whether you use a regular Wix filter or a XP filter, I highly recommend using a Wix filter. There's been a lot of testing and what have you, and they're about the best on the market as far as I'm concerned, and the price is great. So, as you've seen there, I took a little bit of the old oil that drained out of the engine and just gently coated the rubber seal on the oil filter. Now I'm going to take a rag and try to wipe the surface that rubber seal butts up to when you screw it on. Just wipe it clean. You're also checking to make sure that the rubber seal, so this black rubber seal that was on the old filter, didn't stick to the engine. It doesn't happen super often, but it definitely happens. So now, a lot of people will prime the filter, is a good idea. I am not in this case. So they'll fill the filter up with oil prior to putting it on. There we go. Good and snug. I used my calibrated wrist again. Wipe off some of the excess oil that dripped on the cross member. And now we are ready to go up top and refill it. Alright guys, quick note, newer vehicles will actually have some of the oil information right on the oil cap itself. In this situation, it says SAE 0W20. That's going to be the weight of your oil. Dexos 1 Gen 3 is the oil requirements for this truck. Older vehicles and a lot of vehicles, it's less important, but on this one it's actually notated, and I do have Mobil 1 oil that is Dexos 1 Gen 3 approved in the 0W20 weight, and that's what we'll be putting in today. I'm going to go ahead and turn the oil cap counterclockwise and remove it. I highly recommend some sort of a funnel. This is not the greatest one, but it'll do for now. Also, please keep in mind, if you're using an old or used funnel, make sure the funnel is clean and free of debris. You don't want to change your oil and go pouring oil down a dirty funnel and flushing dirt and particles into the engine block. That is not good for anything. Go ahead and get the oil opened up, because we are limited on funnel and what have you. I'm only opening it a little bit so I can place my finger over the hole until I get it lined up with the funnel. Hopefully it works. If not, should at least be entertaining to watch. Just keep an eye on the funnel that you don't overfill the funnel before it has a chance to drain into the engine. When you're using the quart jugs, it's a little easier, to be honest. But there is a fair amount of savings to be had by buying it in the 5-quart jug size. Also keep in mind that it's typically sold in 5-quart jugs, not in 1 gallon, which would be 4 quarts. I've now opened the jug entirely. Now, as for oil capacity, you can check with your local parts house. They can pull up your vehicle, your engine, all of your information, and tell you the approximate amount of oil that it should take to refill this. So for me, I know that 8 quarts. It's a 2018 Yukon 5.3, and it uses 8 quarts to fill it up. Now yours may vary depending on year and generation. Also, there's other variants, like if your vehicle has a tow package that included a oil cooler, that could increase the amount, or it just all depends. So definitely check your specific vehicle for oil capacity. If you're unsure of it, I'd put in a decent amount of oil. 4 quarts is plenty for most engines to be able to get it up onto the dipstick. If you pull the dipstick and it's not showing oil, add a quart. And just check it after each quart that you put in until you're at the full level. I'm now going to open the second 5-quart jug. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just partially opening the film. Once you take the cap off of a jug of oil, there's like an aluminum foil cover over it. And I'm just cutting it slightly, small enough I can place my finger over top of the hole to block the oil from coming out until I get it over the funnel. If you're using the quart size, depending on your thumb size, you could possibly open it all the way and just put your thumb over it until you get it over the funnel. So I've put almost a quart out of that second jug in it now. I'm going to go ahead and open it the rest of the way and get us another quart in there. On the outside of just about every oil container, whether it be quart, 5-quart, gallon, whatever it may be, there's an area on the bottle where you can see the oil level inside the jug, and it'll have notated how many quarts are left in the jug. Currently, I have 3 quarts left in the jug, meaning I've put 7 quarts in the engine so far. At this point, I could start the engine and let it run for a second, check the oil, but just because I've done an oil change on this numerous times, I know 8 quarts is right about where it wants to be. And I'm setting the jug on a flat surface. I'll let you see. Setting the jug on a flat surface. And I don't know if that's going to pick up on the camera or not, but you can see here 4 quarts. When you buy it, it's up here, 5 quarts. And then 4 quarts, 3 quarts, 2 quarts, 1 quart. And as you can see right now, I'm right at 2 quart level, which means I've put a total of 8 quarts in this engine. And we are done adding oil. We'll give our funnel a second to drain there. Once I see it stop dripping, I'll remove the funnel. Put our oil cap back on. Now I'll pull the stick, wipe it clean, reinstall the stick, and then check the level. And that is money. I also took time to dump the oil separator. I also left the bottom of it off just to give me some extra room in here for funnel activities. Now I'm going to place it back on. Thread it back into place. Make sure it's snug but not too tight. Calibrated wrist again. Now we can go inside the cabin and reset our oil life on our dashboard, and we're good to go for a few more thousand. So for this portion of the video, we'll be using these buttons on the right hand side of the steering wheel and watching the cluster. Alright, now the engine is started. You can see we've got good oil pressure and everything, which is great to see after an oil change. And we're going to go scroll down through all of the things until we get to the oil life. And we're going to scroll to the right, click reset. It's going to ask you if you're sure that you want to reset it. Scroll to the yes, click yes, and you can see it goes back to 100%. And at that point, we are effectively done with a successful oil change on a 2018 GMC Yukon with a 5.3. Thank you guys for watching. Please click the subscribe and like buttons as well as that bell so you can stay updated on all future videos. I do appreciate you guys watching. Thank you.